You won't believe the secrets this famous star is hiding, especially at this crucial time of his transformation. Meanwhile, in a car parked on the street, the man who just delivered the tape received in thought, while the guy in the backseat won't stop chatting. By his attire and moves, is he the mysterious guy watching Mark dance? The next morning, Mark was all set for his star debut in the new crew, called to the script room to undergo a turning stone into gold. As the plaster slowly covered his body, those 10 minutes waiting to cool down felt like an endless fire drill. Yet, the simple process suffocated Mark, as terrifying memories flooded in, overwhelming him. Fear almost had him in its clutches, making him crash to the floor, and after the first day's shaping challenge, the crew handed him the script and shooting schedule just in time. Mark was used to it, feeling calm inside. Just as he was about to drive away, a mysterious anonymous note appeared in the gap of his windshield, listing all the victims from that incident 6 years ago. Only Mark managed to escape. In the next hour, his navigation system repeatedly reminded him. At that moment, he felt an invisible gaze on him, and he quickly dialed the number from the note, only to hear a cold, smirking voice on the other end. The person on the other end used prison time as leverage, demanding he agree to their request within an hour and urgently providing an address. When they met, he went straight to the point, unabashedly trying to provoke Mark's limits. Without wasting time debating, they jumped straight into the point, asking each other about their real intentions. The man, claiming to be a private investigator, seemed to know all about Mark's nightmare from 6 years ago. He stated that if Mark wanted this dreadful past buried forever, he must unconditionally comply with the next Secret Circle orders. He then handed Mark an invitation, inviting him to a private party at the Hollywood Hilltop Villa, making him break into a sweat. This sudden threat made Mark incredibly uneasy, and on top of that, there were 2 police officers waiting at his doorstep. The 2 officers informed him that the serial killer was back at it last night, and the victims were 2 of his female colleagues. Frustrated, Mark coldly replied, "I know nothing," and hurried back to his apartment. Right now, Mark had only one thought: he must quickly uncover the true identity of the puppet master behind this. He knew that if he didn't handle this properly, he would not only sink into a quagmire but also jeopardize his hard-built acting career. Therefore, he decided to seek help from his agent. In his agent's office, Mark sincerely shared the dusty old story. After listening, the agent remained completely calm and reassured him to continue focusing on his work, promising to arrange help to deal with the potential threats. This support was like a compel for Mark, and he finally returned to the filming set. However, the extra security personnel heightened the tension, and the truth was starting to reveal itself. Some local conservative forces were strongly dissatisfied with the filming of a Puritan movie by the crew. They thought the movie was promoting a cult scene as an ugly force, turning it into a war of public opinion. At this time, a woman named Elizabeth approached Mark. She was the film's execution director and a key person in making him the star. She enthusiastically took Mark on a tour of the filming site, sharing some inspirational lines that truly motivated. After a heartfelt exhortation, Elizabeth especially advised Mark to cherish the opportunity right in front of him. While they were engaged in conversation, they happened to pass by the filming location of Psycho, and the solitary appearance of that cabin instantly evoked in Mark a peculiar sensation of DJ Currency's envy, as though it were summoning him with an invisible force. The cabin felt so familiar, blurring his memories of that old farm, even making him fleetingly glimpse the past lady of the farm. Until Elizabeth gently tapped his shoulder, pulling him back to reality, and he hurriedly said goodbye to the set, feeling uneasy on the way home. A sense of unease spread as Mark sensed someone was tailing him, glancing back to see that mysterious detective on his tail. He was as nervous as a ticking bomb, gripping the car keys tightly and marching toward him, as night quietly descended. Back home, Mark lay on his bed, struggling to memorize his lines, unknowingly realizing they had subtle hints related to murder. Meanwhile, downstairs, his mailboy prepared to close the door, feeling a hidden, fatal threat just as hinted in his lines. At this moment, demons were silently devouring everything, innocent ones rolling into the abyss. The next morning, a crowd had gathered below, and Mark rushed down, only to find that the victim was his friend. His heart raced with anxiety and confusion, and he was promptly stopped by the police. To track down the real culprit, the police took Mark to the precinct, explaining that this case was consistent with previous murders. They believed the killer might be the same person, as all the victims were closely tied to Mark, whose anxious demeanor raised red flags. Faced with the situation, Mark was filled with dread, fearing his secrets would be exposed, leading him to refuse the police to further investigate. The female detective wasn't willing to give up, sincerely pleading with Mark for any leads. Back at the set, Mark was late because of his friend's matter. The director's face darkened like storm clouds, scolding Mark that this was his last chance, or he'd lose his job. After filming, the actress Lisa kindly reminded Mark that he must strictly follow the director's instructions. Otherwise, the road of acting wouldn't be smooth, which brought Mark a little comfort. Then Lisa suddenly changed the subject, mentioning tonight's gathering at the Hollywood Hilltop Villa, sending a shockwave through Mark. Could there be a hidden secret there? After saying goodbye to Lisa, Mark had mixed feelings. Suddenly, that detective reappeared in his sight, seemingly unwilling to give up, even boldly brandishing a weapon. Mark fled, hiding in a room, only to be spotted by security and kicked out. The director noticed Mark's distracted demeanor and sternly demanded he deal with any troubles quickly. To get rid of the tenacious detective, Mark decided to eliminate this pesky Tagalon. He dressed to the nines, slapping on bald makeup and fiery red lips, wondering who could resist such temptation. With everything ready, Mark stepped into the bar, standing in the spotlight, ready to ignite this cat and mouse game.